I am very, very excited to introduce you all to Amanda Flischer. She is a self-leadership coach, and Amanda works with individuals to dig deeper, move past learned beliefs and values, and uncover their own unique value systems. And she guides them through making better choices, better goals, and ultimately having more satisfaction in their achievements. Amanda holds an associate certified coach certificate through the ICF, and she's also a trained strengths educator through Gallup. So if you guys have taken the Strengths Finder, she is your gal. She knows a ton about it. And she's also one of my good friends and my mastermind partners who has helped me a lot move forward with my own goals and dreams as well. I think many of you have used our 90-day planner workbook, which I created. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you know, but I really created because Amanda helped me get over a lot of stuff that was holding me back and put that out into the world. So she's really good at this. She knows her stuff. And get ready because she's going to really push you forward in the next 30 minutes or however long we go. So thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Oh, it is a dream to be on here with you. So I am beyond excited. So thanks for having me.
Yes, finally we get to do it.
Yes.
So let's talk about the topic, which is what's holding us back.
Yes.
How do we figure out what's holding us back?
Okay, so this one's a big one, right? So, I think what happens is we really start out, I'm trying to pinpoint it, right? Where you feel like this emotion or there's something going on and you feel stuck. And it's just like this constant pinging. It's like, I feel stuck, I'm in a rut, something's going on. And so how do you acknowledge what exactly is the issue, right? So there's a few things that I usually do with my clients, and usually that's why people come to coaches in the first place, right? Like this is why they come to your website. This is why they're finally like, there's something going on. I'm stuck. I need to change. So the first thing is acknowledging what is going on and why do I want to change? Why do I exactly want to change in my life? What is going on? So there's three things that I kind of look at with each person. First is acknowledging, and just where are you in that change process? Are you just kind of like dabbling, like, oh, I want to change, right? I'm sure we've been there where it's like, that'd be nice to do. But then there's sometimes where it's like that pinging noise, like that I was telling you earlier. And if you're in that spot, then there's the next thing you do, which is then really taking this like 30,000 foot view of your life and really acknowledging what's going on here? What roles am I playing? What areas am I stuck? And usually the big one for women is their career or a purpose-driven, place, right? And I'm sure you and I both have been there. I'm sure we'll get into our stories a little bit here. But just like you and I have shared this story so many times, but I was in that spot. I was totally stuck in my job. I was totally stuck in this way of thinking that it had to be. I call it the treadmill lifestyle. Right? You get on that treadmill in high school and you're like, okay, I go to college. Then I get married. Then I have children. Then I buy a house. And then after all that, you're like, wow. I climbed the corporate ladder. I did all that kind of stuff. But it just wasn't feeling like there was this wasn't the right path, right? So it's acknowledging again, which part is the stuck? Which part is it? So you have to really, and I'm looking down because I want you to get that visual image of like you looking down on your life in like this wheel. I'm sure you've all heard of the wheel of life. But really it's what I call the life satisfaction wheel. And you really look at it from this 30,000 foot view, really like 5, right? And you really just start naming all the places in your life that you feel satisfied or unsatisfied in. And Anna, would you say that like most people are like, it's my career or it's
if they're in love your career formula, then
yes, right? Where it's like, it's finding that spot, but maybe sometimes it's home life is affecting career, right? They're like, I want to love my career more, but maybe there's some energy around my home life or my personal life that's affecting my career, right? And so, and I deal with that too with ladies. There's so much that we carry as women in all these areas and roles, but the one that really gets hit the most is our career.
Yeah, definitely.
So, right. So then it's okay. So it's first and foremost. So you really find out which area is stuck. So let's say it's career. We'll start there. Then it's your thoughts around the career. What old thoughts and behaviors and really old belief patterns do you have about the way that should look, right? Like, for example, you can tell your story if this is true for you, but when I was in my role and I was in corporate, and just particularly my situation, I have nothing wrong with corporate. I loved my job. Let's not get it wrong. I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. I loved everything about it. I just felt a bigger calling to what I'm doing today. And in that though, there was this old belief pattern going saying I had to be successful. I had to climb the ladder. I had to be making a certain amount of money to be successful. I had to have it all, right? I had to have all these initials after my name, right? This old belief pattern. And that was making me stuck, so stuck. And I see that with women all the time. I have a wonderful client right now who's literally stuck in that same pattern. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And she's stuck in a pattern that she has to earn a certain dollar amount to equal her happiness. And that's just not true, right?
It's almost like your mindset of like figuring out.
Yes.
What are you like reaching forward with right now? Like, is it something your parents want you to do, or is it, something that is not really what you want personally?
Exactly. And that's what, so that third part of the issue is, so it's acknowledging that there's something going on. Like, where am I in this change? How badly do I want to change? Then it's really looking at which area of my life do I really want to figure out and take a look at. And then it's getting curious about your thoughts. And like you said, maybe it's an old belief pattern from a parent, from school or friends or family, whatever it may be, and start to really think about all those thoughts that are going through your head. And yes, this looks like you're crazy, but you're not. Like, it's just this, it's almost like you're ruminating on the same thoughts and processes. And so when you get out of that and you kind of, again, look at the thoughts from up here, you kind of look at it from a different view and say, are these true? Would you say, Anna, is there anything that you held true when you worked in your old job?
I mean, I think I definitely had the same one as you, of feeling like I needed to get promoted and I needed to get the raise and I needed to make my parents happy. And they were very much in the corporate ladder. And, there was like a specific thing that I felt like I needed to achieve to make them happy. They've done so much for me, so I just wanted to, what they wanted me to do. And the definite point where I realized, okay, I need to do what's going to make me happy. Then, and those choices weren't always exactly what made them happy. They were be happy with some of the choices I made.
Yeah.
A little crazy. But, ultimately I had to do it for myself rather than, make decisions for them too.
Yeah.
So that's really important, that one there.
Exactly. And that is vital to understand, is that like when you're stuck in a rut, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but when you're stuck in that mode, you really have to look outside to say, who am I pleasing here? Am I totally trying to please everybody else, or am I trying to please myself? And pleasing yourself doesn't mean this like narcissistic, it's all about me. It means that you're listening to your truth. It means it's listening to those pings. It's listening to your strengths. It's listening to a lot of different things that's going on for you. Because then once you figure that out, you can align yourself better to the job, to the career, to what you should be doing. And my parents thought I was crazy too, leaving work. And the other for me was, I was getting a valid backlash for trying to work while I had children, right? Like, I have little babies and they're like, what are you doing? Just stay home, just be with them, right? And so going against that grain was really difficult. And showing that I can make it, that I can do it and that it's possible, right? And I believe that's also part of this, is that you have to then step into a belief that you can do it, which you did too. You're like, I can do it. And go ahead.
I was going to say about your wheel, like, I like how you just focus on one area at a time. Me with my number one focus strength. Like focusing on your career, and then at other times I'm focusing on my health, and but that's that has helped me a lot. Not trying to be perfect like in every area, but having weeks or 2 or a month where like, okay, I'm going to really try and eat healthy this month. And next month is like, a really big launch in the business where I'm like obsessed with.
Exactly.
And like hitting goals. So I like that there's different times too.
Oh my gosh. And seasons for everything, right? Like, like you said, when you're in launch mode, I love watching you because you're just like super focused, right? And so, but that even today when I was working, super focused, and there's all these women, I work in a co-working space, it's wonderful. And all these women around me wanting to chat. And I'm like, I can't, I've got this wonderful interview today. I got to focus. So it's, it is focusing in on one of those areas. And the other thing about it is, maybe career isn't the lever that's going to change it all. Maybe it really is home life. Maybe it is your health. Prior to doing all this work, I worked in behavioral coaching with women that just did not take their health serious, right? Like at all. And so it was a lot of paying attention to, making that the priority, because that was going to affect so much. If they don't feel good about the way they look, they're not going to dress appropriately and not feel good at work, right? Then they're going to feel self-conscious, and then they're not going to want to leave their office, and they're going to eat more, right? Like, it was just this constant battle for them. So it's really, narrowing. And I would say you can narrow in on 3 at a time, max.
Okay.
And then you're going to push yourself, right? But it's being realistic too, that like you can have it all, but just not all at once. And if you try to do it all, just know that you cannot give yourself over 100%, right? Like, I know you watch me from afar being like, what are you doing? There's just so many moving pieces. But I will say my house is messy. You guys see, I have kid toys over here, right? Like, that's one thing on the plate that I'm just like, you know what? I can't be perfect in that space. So I'm going to give that one up today, or this week. So
never would have known. Now you showed us your messy house.
I know. I'm like, hey, if you guys want to play some cards later. So, but yeah. So does that answer that question in a very long, how do you figure out this?
I think that was a really good introduction of kind of what this is all about too. So leading then into confidence. Confidence is something I know you really enjoy talking about. How can we have more confidence then leading into that major career change, major life change? Because it's scary.
It's so scary. And you and I both have been there. Like, we both have been like, oh, please, can we make this work? But I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, that like you had to go against the grain, right? You actually had to go against what everyone was telling you and listen to what was going on inside of you.
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't have the confidence enough to be like, I have this 100% and it's going to turn out amazing. But you had the confidence in yourself to know that you will do whatever it takes to get this thing off the ground.
Right.
Right. And that's what confidence is. It's this very strong rooted, like grounding, if you will, of knowing who you are, knowing your strengths, your values, your needs, those kinds of things, knowing your desires, that who part of you, knowing what it is you want to be doing, right? Like, what are the things you love to do? And not just like, I like helping people, because you and I love helping people, but we help people in complex ways. So it's really defining what it is you love to do. And then on the side of it is, directed at something. Like, what's the mission? What are you going to be doing? And so it's that grounding that gives you purpose and saying like, now this is what I'm after, right? Like, this is what I'm going to do. Because if you think about it, a lot of us are just hovering, and I'm like using my hands, but just imagine like you're hovering and you're just kind of like with the wind. This is a great opportunity. I'll go this direction. Oh, this sounds like me. I like doing this. That's when you start to lose a little bit of confidence, because you're like, well, I didn't do so well in that job, or, oh my gosh, this isn't turning out what I wanted. And then you kind of feel beat up, because you're like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? If you get grounded and do the work and find out what it is you are meant to be doing in terms of your talents, your strengths. And it's not to say like, go be an astronaut. You're never going to like find the job, the thing. But like, for example, I know you talk a lot about strengths here, and I love you for doing that. It's using those and then aiming them at the things you love doing. And so, the biggest thing, you could aim your strengths at a whole bunch of different jobs, and you would be phenomenal at them, because you know what those strengths are and what you could do with them.
Right.
That's the point of it, right? Because I have had one client, she was really good at using her strengths as a corporate trainer over here. And then she used them as a teacher. She went back into the classroom and was a teacher for a few years. And then she went and became a director of a preschool, right? Like, and she used all those strengths in education and helping and doing things, completely different jobs all the way across. But there was like this thin line of who she was and what she was good at, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So confidence comes from that place. Confidence. So like when you're about to go into an interview, or you're about to land a gig, or you're about to do something, it's rooting yourself into, this makes sense. This is what I should be doing. The craziest one was when I was in my corporate job, I had been applying for a few jobs to do the same work at other companies. And I'd go in these interviews and I'd be terrified, just terrified. I'm like, what am I doing? I'd be nervous. I'm pretty sure I walked in with, like some pits or something. Like, it was just crazy. Like, I was just so not confident in myself, right? I mean, even one time I remember slouching, being like, yeah, like trying to be all so unprofessional. It was just a mess. So later I do this work, I leave, I start my own company, and I get called to do another job. Someone's asking me if I can come back in and be the director of some learning department and all this stuff. And I go in. It would have been the most money I would have ever made in a job. I go in, and it just didn't feel right. I was so grounded in what I wanted and who I was that I could sit there across the table from her and say, thank you, but this is not for me, and walk out that door, leaving all that behind. And that's what this is about, is that it's getting so rooted that you can say no and yes to the things that matter most. Exactly. So, right. And I'm sure you've had the same thing. I am sure you have been called 1,001 different ways to do stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
You can say,
yeah, everyone who is in Love Your Career Formula too, that's why we spend so much time on the beginning. It's not like rush to resumes and rush to interviews and rush to even networking. Like it's doing
not about that.
Nina is talking about is spending that time here of grounding yourself, because then you will have that confidence later and you will know the direction you're going and you will know what to do. So I'm glad you're like speaking my language here. Like,
oh yeah. Well, exactly. And I was just working with a client today, and she's amazingly wonderful. Like, she's so sweet and she's so kind, and she started crying today, and she's like, I've never been so happy because I'm finally listening to who I am. And she's doing phenomenal in her job, like phenomenal, because she finally is listening to the projects and the things that she should be doing, and not just trying to take it all and just be like, yeah, sure, I'll try to do this. And then she's overwhelmed and then failing in a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah. So she was just like, I'm finally succeeding because I'm listening to this, like, confidence. And then she's showing up with more confidence, right? It's like this constant, like, building. The more you feel confident, the more confidence you have. The more confidence you get, the more confidence you have, So.
Yeah. And it totally, the more you just keep doing those things too, that make you happier, that you feel are right, that you're more confident in, you get more opportunities too. And I think that happened to me too. Like, it was like, as soon as you start going in that direction, I mean, things just come out of the woodwork that you're like,
what?
Oh, like, this must be the right direction for me, because these are just landing in your lap, And so that, for me, I think that's kind of how I felt. Like, I think I'm going in the right direction, because things are, opportunities are just coming to me that seem like they're made for me, like created for me.
Right. And there's an actual real thing in the world, like, that they've been studying with positive psychology, and the University of Pennsylvania has been doing a lot of work on it. It's this idea of flow, right? The more you get into flow with your work, and flow is like this really weird energy that you get, like, you're excited, you're happy, or totally in that, and you all know it. You've all been there, where you're in flow and hours are just passing by. And you just look up and you're like, how did a day go by? Oh my gosh, because you were happy, you were enjoying it, your strengths were being used. It was totally, like, challenging you. Your skills weren't above the challenge, so you're bored, and your challenge wasn't too high that you couldn't use your skills, right? So it was like this perfect flow state. And then all of a sudden you start finding more like that. So then again, more flow comes, and more flow and more flow. So it is like, you have to almost, like, work that muscle, like working out, to, like, figure this stuff out. It's not just, like, about the networking. It's not just about the resume. It's absolutely not about just those things. It's about finding out who you are.
Exactly. So tell us about self-leadership and why this is so important.
So backstory was, I was working a lot with individuals in high potential situations, right? I was running these 6-month programs for managers and frontline employees that were really high potential, that were going to take off in the company, or we really just wanted to groom them to be our next leaders. And so I started to recognize some of the patterns just 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, of just what does it mean to actually self-lead. And self-leadership really is the psychological ownership of you and your life, right? You're taking on your responsibilities, you're taking on your own development, you're taking on developing other people. It's really that sense of, like, I believe in myself, I believe that I can get this done, and I'm going to go with it, and I plan on taking others with me, right? Like, it's not just about you, and like I was saying earlier, it's not about this narcissistic, it's all self, indulgent stuff. It's learning about you and how you're supposed to be serving others. How are you supposed to be using those talents, using those gifts, and then give that right back? How do you do that, right? And then how do you, make money off of that in a good way, right? How do you make a living? How do you support other people? How do you give back to your community, right? That's what self-leadership is. It's leading from the ground up. It's leading from you and then leading out, right? And I think a lot of leadership principles They try, like, I've seen it all, man. It's crazy. Right? Like, I'm sure you've been through a few leadership programs yourself. And at the end of the day, if you cannot lead your life, you cannot lead other human beings.
Ooh, quote, Amanda Flischer. Say it again.
Oh my God, I don't even know what I said. If you can't lead your life, you literally cannot lead other people, right? Because think about it. I'm sure you all know, there's some boss that you've seen before, and you're like, good Lord, you are a mess. You are a hot mess. And you can't make decisions, and you're mean, and you're rude, and you bark at everyone.
Yes, I have that.
Right? And you're like, how am I supposed to A, trust you, B, expect you to develop me because I don't want anything to do with you? And that's your leader, right? That's just, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, literally, I used to like feel like this when that happened.
Yeah.
And so that's when I woke up to this whole idea, because it was like this idea that I was waiting for someone to tell me what to do in my career. Someone show me the way to get to the top. And I was just like, and that's what was happening in these leadership programs. They'd be like, tell us what to do. And it's like, I don't have the answer. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know. All I can do is give you these amazing tools, and it's your job to go figure out what to do with it. And I can coach you and support you and build that scaffolding around you until you are ready to put the training wheels. But other than that, you have to own your life. You have to take control. If you do not, you will be literally working for someone else, and they will tell you what to do, and you'll be miserable, right? And I'm not saying like, go tell them what to do, but show up to your boss and show them like, hey, these are what I can do. And this is what I really get a lot out of. And here, I'm already ahead of you on this project. And here's it's not overstepping boundaries. It's a social intelligence as well, right? Where it's knowing like, hey, my boss is going to want this, or hey, my boss likes to be talked to like this. Hey, my boss really actually likes bullet points in an email, right? Or knowing that like certain people aren't as quick to conversation. They like to just have like quieter, more, intellectual conversations. Or there's me and my girlfriends, so quick, like we're always just like, my husband always jokes that we're just like this chirping birds outside because they're just like, boop, 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 right? But it's knowing that as well about other people and then stepping in. I think there was one time you could totally stop me, but it was one time I noticed you had jumped off the call, like when we were doing all our fun stuff, and I just happened to like text you and be like, hey, is everything okay? And you're just like, yeah, everything's great. But I just had to make a call. But it was that intelligence, right? That I saw that like, hey, maybe something's wrong. Mm-hmm. Right. And then it was like, just paying attention, right? Just paying attention to other people. And then using those gifts that you have to help other people. So.
And I think so often too, like you think, oh, you have a boss and they're in charge. And so you don't lead because you think you're not the leader.
Right.
What you're saying here is so true, is that you can still lead as an employee. Maybe you're not the boss, the leader. And so taking initiative, and I always say this too, like you can't depend on anyone else to promote you or to give you a raise or anything like that. I know I had to fight tooth and nail for my first raise because my boss wasn't going to give it to me. So I think it's really an important thing of taking ownership of your career and your life.
Oh, and your life, right? Like, and I've had a trickle of people in my life that really did like look after me and that were really happy that I'd be like, they would shuffle me off to places or, get me in front of the right person. Yeah. But when push came to shove, like if I really needed them, they were like, right? And so there were so many times I took ownership and went outside my company to learn. There was on my lunch breaks, I would take people to coffee. I literally would email some of these amazing people in San Diego, and I would just be like, hey, can I take you to coffee on Saturday morning? I want to learn more about what you do, right? So it was taking personal ownership for my career and my life, right? And so I think that's what self-leadership is at the end of the day, is just, it's leading you so you can lead others. Bottom line.
Yeah,
right?
I love that too, because we're all working towards, like in phase 3 of Love Your Career Formula, it's the leadership phase. So everyone's working towards that. Some are in leadership phase already.
Totally.
You can't, it's like mastering your own life and then you can lead others. So it's all coming together. It makes we're covering all the phases here.
And I didn't even know it.
I know. Now you know it. You're
a
Love Your Career Formula expert and you didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it. Okay, so I have one more story to talk about self-leadership really quick. It just came to me. So I have this girlfriend who I've never heard a voice so incredible. Like that woman, when we like took the chain off her at church one day, she was just like, she just built it. And it was one of these things, she's always played so timid because she's not the leader. She's not the like worship, leader or whatever. So she literally was like, she built it up. The entire church was like standing, everyone giving her a standing ovation, all this stuff. And then, she like comes back and she sits down and she's like, oh no, it's okay, whatever. But she's very quiet in her life. She's very calm and quiet. And she actually has a job where she does marketing and she works with like animals, and she's really smart and she's amazing. But yet she's a leader, but she doesn't think she is. Like if she just let that voice go, she would lead in that area of her life so much. And she and that's what I think sometimes people get scared around the word leadership, is that it has to look at it like leadership is leading people at work. No, it's not. It's leading your life. It's leading in all the other areas. Because maybe you're a leader in your church, your community, or maybe your favorite volunteer organization. Maybe you're the household, you run your household, right? Like whatever it may be, like you are leading. So don't get it twisted that you got to have like this team of human beings behind you to be a leader.
Exactly. And even social media, like people are following us on anyone. I mean, even if you,
oh my gosh,
and you just have 5 friends on Facebook, they're following you. You're leading, in some way or another.
Totally. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about shoulds then, and how we get past all those shoulds and get focused, on our purpose and what we should really be doing.
Yes. Okay. So my favorite, it's going to sound like I'm cussing, but I'm not. So stop shoulding on yourself is like legitimately like everyone needs to have that above their like, their computer or something like that, but like stop shoulding. Like that's what it is. Because should. I'm trying. Should. So
here.
I'm trying. So the idea is that we do it all day long. We should do this. I mean, even you and I right now, I should be cleaning my house, right? This thing should be clean behind me, right? I should be making dinner for everyone. I should be blah, 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 right? Like should. Shoulds don't keep us motivated. They don't. Like they're not going to like get us out of bed in the morning. They're not going to do us any good. They're just harming us. They're shaming us. They're making us feel guilty. They're pulling up rooted stuff that we're like, oh God, especially when we do New Year's resolutions, right? We do our resolutions. Week 1, we're like, yay, I went to the gym. Week 3, we're like, oh my gosh, I should go to the gym. And then we feel terrible that we're not, right?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. So what I always do with my clients is that we knock out like all the shoulds. And what I mean by that is get a piece of paper and just all the things you keep shoulding on yourself about, right? So I had one client, we literally went through all her shoulds, and it was everything about her weight and everything about her clothes and everything about her house. It was just like everything about her job. And she should be at this other position by now. She should have this much income. She should, have this many friends. She should make time for blah, 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 blah. And I was like, how is this helping you? And she's like, I don't know. Right. And it's not. Right. And I was like, that's why we're here. Right. So what we did was we went through all of them, every single one of them. And I think it was like 30 to 45. I mean, it was ridiculous. Yeah. And we just started crossing them off one by one by being like, do you want to keep this, or is it just a waste of time? And by the time we got through all of them, she kept 5, literally 5. And why she kept them was because they were actual wants she wanted for her life. Yeah. So like one of them was like, you should lose weight. And she needed to lose weight, right? She needed to lose weight for her health reasons. That was the big thing, right? She had to. She was on medication she didn't need to be on. So that was a should, right? So, but we turned it into more of a goal feeling type, right? And a bigger picture versus just this, like, I should lose weight because then there's no motivation behind that.
Right.
So we turned it more of, if I work out, I'm going to feel better. I will want to do these things. I will get off my medication. I will, it turned into things that will be more powerful to her versus I should lose weight. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've done it. We've all done it where we're like, we should. I'm trying so hard.
I'm like thinking of my list right now to like write down when we're done with this call.
Right? Because it's so hard. It's so hard. I mean, even this weekend, I'm going to be celebrating a very good friend. We're going to do her bachelorette party, and it's like, well, I should do all these things, and I should look great for the pool, and that is not motivating whatsoever. I'm like, I don't care. People can like, I am who I am. This is how it's going to be, right? But I could go down that rabbit hole if I wanted to, and then I could just feel even more depressed, and then have a bag of Oreos, which I really did buy the other day. So shoulds just don't help us. And as a mom and as a wife and just, friends, I'm trying really hard not to should people, especially my clients. That it's just not necessary. It's not necessary to should anyone into anything. If my husband around here somewhere, I'll be like, you really should be doing something. And it's like, no, hey, I really need you to get this done. Right. Like it's just changing the wording. Yeah. Right. I really do need these things. I do need my oil change in the car. It's not like, hey, you should change my oil. Right.
Yeah.
Because you're also beating around the bush. Right. I really need him to help me because I don't have time to get over there today.
Or even going back to the leadership thing in the leadership thing, telling your employees you should do, like, I love, you did the marriage thing, but also in like managerial role too.
In any relationship, I mean, your friendships, managerial to employee to manager. Like, I mean, it's in any relationship. Don't like should doesn't feel good. It's shaming each other or guilting people into. And I mean that, like, if you're trying to do it, like, to hey, you should think about blah blah blah. Just tell them, hey, we need this project done. Can I find out where you're at on this? Or hey, blah blah blah. And if you're managing up, right, where you're having to manage up to your boss, then it's having the conversation with them in their language, right? How do they talk? How do they need you to talk to them? And really, and asking like, hey, I think we need to be doing this, or it would be really great as we could, I know that this, what if we did this? Not, hey, we should do this, or da, da, da. It's trying to tiptoe around something that doesn't need to be tiptoed. Like, if you want to do it, especially if it's your own goals, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't, cross it off, because it's not helping you, right? Right. And again, it's coming back to your wheel. If it's wheel, why are you trying to do it? Like, and it comes back to then like beliefs, right? Like, I think for, going back to my conversation about like, that idea that I should be home with my children right now during this time, that's a should, right? Like, I'm not built that way. I literally was home with my son for 3 days. And by day 3, I was like, and I'm building a business, right? But that's me, and that's how I'm hardwired. Again, it's listening to what you are getting called to do, what's driving you. And again, there's seasons. Sometimes you're going to be doing this stuff, and sometimes you're not, right? So
definitely,
yeah. So there's the shoulds. Stop shitting on yourself. Shoulding on yourself. I promise I'm not cousin.
I got it now. I think I got it.
Okay, good.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
Yes.
I really want to know like your final words of wisdom, or on your best advice for someone who is stuck in that rut.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a commercial going on. Have you seen the guy with a rut? He's like in a rut. Like, he's in the kitchen, and he's like in the floor. I can't see my kitchen. He's like halfway through the floor, so it's like up to here, and he's eating a sandwich, and it's like a breakfast sandwich, and he's like, hey, Jane. And he's like, hey, Jimmy, you're really in a rut. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm in a groove. Right. And he's like, no. And she's like, no, you're in a breakfast rut, and like hands him some sandwich or whatever. But the idea is that, like, it's so funny. I thought it was hysterical because sometimes it may feel like we're actually in a groove. It may feel comfortable. It may feel okay. But you have to weigh this thing. If you're in a rut, your unhappiness is far higher than your happiness, right? If you're in a groove, it should be the other way, right? Where your happiness is totally outweighing unhappiness, right? Where it's, I don't like doing Excel spreadsheets. Okay, but the rest of my job is like incredibly amazing, right? But if there's like, oh my gosh, this is just not for me. This is just crazy, but it's okay because I'm good at it. It's fine. That's a rut. Right. So the ruts are it goes back to the stuck. Like, you're stuck. You got to figure out what's going on. And the only way ruts can change is if you disrupt it. You have to disrupt it, right? Like, of the same daily thing, unless you actually break it. And the thing that broke my rut, like that constant state of like this beating myself up, I should have figured this out, I should, as I had to leave. I left my work for a whole day. I went and sat down with all this stuff about myself, all my strengths and my stuff, and I just sat down and looked at everything as a bigger picture, and was like, and had this giant epiphany that like, oh my gosh, I'm fighting it up like this uphill battle with something that just isn't me. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. And so I finally got out of the rut and changed my attitude, changed my direction, but it took a while, right? Like, that took a while to realize that. So if you really want to get out of rut, you've got to disrupt it. Disrupt it by getting out of the situation, breaking the cycle, doing something for yourself, paying attention to it, getting curious, doing something different. But the second part about it is then you have to be open to it, right? Like when I worked with all these clients at this camp, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this work. It was insane. And then I'd see these people again 6 months later. So they tried to get out of the rut. They tried to disrupt the rut, and then they weren't open to the rut, like to changing the rut. And then they did it all over again, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea of you have to be ready to change it. And if you're not ready to change it, you're not going to be out of that rut. So it's an openness. It's a real true like discomfort that you got to get into to change it up, because ruts are just comfy. Yeah. You get really warm and snuggly in that rut down on the ground and eat that breakfast sandwich when you should be totally out of that thing. So
the same thing over and over again.
And that's called insanity. Hello, people.
Yeah.
The same thing over and over again. Expecting a different outcome is insanity.
Yeah. So some little things that you could do, like, because I know this has been a huge thing for me, is just disrupting it, different, like when you get in that rut, like changing location, like changing work, asking my boss for something crazy. Like at one time I just asked my boss, I told him I needed to go part-time, like totally crazy, but I just knew that I needed that for my life at that point in time. Yep. So it's super crazy. It sounds scary. Other people think, it's silly too, but it also could be like, I've heard people just driving different ways to work or something, like just drive past the pretty lake or something different to like, improve your mood, or, wake up an hour early or 15 minutes early, or change what you're drinking in the morning. Like I love that, just like focusing on, there's little disruptions you can make that can
all the time. Well, when I did sales, oh my gosh, I would get in these, like, I would feel it. Like I'd feel the rut coming like every, 4 to 6 weeks of like, oh man, my sales, I would legitimately move my phone to the other side. Like if my phone was over here and I was so used to dialing with like my right hand, I would literally have to then switch and then start using my left. Like an actual, like get my mind thinking differently and having to use different things to come online to like, oh wait, now how do I, right? Like then I actually had to be more present to these everyday mundane things I was doing. My boss would make fun of me all the time. She's like, why do you always change your desk? And I was like, because I'm in a rut. or like, I need to change it up. And same thing with my desk here. Like I will change it up, or I go to the co-working space. I change up my desk all the time there. I'll sit in one area for a while, like a couple weeks, and then I'll go try another area. Small things, super small. Like, even just going for a walk, a different place, or a workout routine. I don't know about you, but I can only handle certain workout routines for like 6 months, and then I'm like, my body's like, okay, something new. Let's try something different. Yeah. So, small little changes to get out of the rut, and then you'll start to see they build, right? Then you're like, oh wait, I like this change.
Yeah. Well,
what else can I change?
Like I'm in one I'm not in one right now, but I was just a couple weeks ago, like with just as a mom working, driving to preschool, coming home, and also dinner. And I felt like we weren't getting like any time with our daughter. So we pulled her out of preschool and are just like hanging out more as a family now. But it's a huge change, but we needed just like that light bulb switch, just like to like spend that family time together. And now I don't know if she's going back.
now working for
like a better groove. And we're like, maybe we can figure this out time-wise, a different schedule, but I never would have thought that we could handle not having her, in preschool.
Right. Well, and I think that's the other thing is that you get a thought process that's like, well, we can't handle that. And then you make that the belief.
Yeah.
You have no idea if it's true or not.
Every kid, 3-year-old goes to preschool.
Exactly, right?
Does she?
Does she? I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you got to question the belief or the line of what you think you should be doing, right? And so the rut is, it can look as drastic as that, or it can seriously look as, mundane and like change some different light bulbs in your house.
I love that.
Right? Change some mood to like more yellow, like this one's more yellow, our kitchen's more white, whatever it may be, just change it up. I think that's the thing about life is that when that grounding versus hovering is that like we hover because we just whatever. Like we're going with the flow. We don't know what's going on. But when you ground and you really pay attention, you'll be willing to change more often. You're like, I know I can do this, and I know I can do this, and I can challenge myself more. And you ground and you go.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love it. So much good stuff. So many.
Yay!
We covered so much.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a lot. I'm sorry if I
info
dumped.
Great. Everyone's loving it. So where can people find out more about you, and then tell us about the special workbook that
little workbook. Okay, so amandaflisher.com. Very simple. That's where you can find me. And then if you want to
link below this.
Okay. Perfect. And if you're interested in coaching with me, I have different packages running from just working on StrengthsFinder and just really working on your strengths and what that looks like, to working with me for 6 months to a year. A lot of my clients sign on with me for about 6 months because there's big changes they want to make, and it's a little scary, right? And like I said earlier, I help build that scaffolding around you. And you really lean on me to make sure that stuff works. And then we kind of start taking it apart, and then you move on your way, right? So coaching's meant for you to really, to hammer out a lot of this stuff, right? It's really meant to be in that one-on-one space to be like, is this right? Should I do this? What do I need to do? Is this a safe spot? And then just have someone third-party neutral constantly keep questioning your thoughts, just constantly being like, is that true? Is that not? Is that true? Is that not? So amandaflisher.com. And then the last thing is, you guys all get to be my first little guinea pigs with this. So I'm super excited. So I wanted to share it with you guys first, is the life satisfaction wheel and the workbook. So I have been poring over this for a long time. I use it a lot with my clients one-on-one, but I have not really released it to anybody. So yeah, you guys get to have what I was talking about earlier, that 30,000 foot view. So you're going to look at it from the 10 areas of life that just genuinely are everyone's 10 areas. And you can decide if that's true for you or not, but this is, research and everything. These are the 10 areas that most people play in every day to every year, whatever it may be. And then through that, you'll just kind of work yourself through the questions. And I would love to know your feedback and how it's going and any changes that you've seen. And yeah, I feel for me, that's vital to understanding how to get out of a rut, because you start there and just say, which areas am I satisfied in and which areas do I need work? And really be honest. I have some clients who are like, I'm 10 and everything. I'm like, okay.
Why are you talking to me then?
Why am I being hired? Right? So be honest. Like, if you are a 5, why are you a 5? If you are a 10, great. Why are you a 10? If you're a 0, okay. Why are you a 0? Right? But really, really get curious about it and really understand what satisfaction looks like for you. So
that's so important, because everyone's different too.
Oh, everyone's well, and that's the key, is that like your success is not everyone's success, right? You gotta unhook from that one right away. My success does not look like the success my parents decided for me a long time ago, right? Like they were like, oh, what are you doing? This is craziness. All this stuff online and doing all these things, right? My success is different from your success, right? Like what I want is totally different from what you want, right? But if we were to go compare apples to oranges, this is crazy. Like it would be crazy if I tried to live up to what your success is, right? And you would probably die, because you're like, I don't want to do these things that you, right? I don't want to go speak on stages. I love doing this with the community, right? Yeah. So you have to really define success for yourself and satisfaction and what that looks like first. So that's in the workbook. So you get to do all that.
Awesome.
Yay.
So last words of wisdom, anything you want to leave us with?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. I don't know.
I don't know how you can pull out any more, but I might have to quotable here. So
quotable. Oh my gosh, I know. I wish I had Marianne Williamson's quote over here, but basically, like, go figure out your light. Go figure out what it is that you're meant to be doing, and really what your strengths and your values and all those things are, because your light shines light on other people, and it makes them want to do better and to feel courageous. And courage doesn't have to be this like, I'm going to save the world type thing. Courage is literally stepping out of that rut and being like, I'm going to try something different. This is a little scary. This is a little different, but I'm going to do it anyways. Right? So your light, it shines light on others, and it makes other people excited and happy. And that's what we're all meant for. Right?
Definitely. Love it.
Yay.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.
Fun time. So thank you.
Yay. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye.